then if I could just have a minute at the end to wrap things up.
Sure, absolutely.
Perfect.
So yeah, wanted to kind of go through a couple of things, mainly on the patient side of things, as far as what removing a card looks like, what adding a new card looks like, and kind of what you can expect with some of the verbiage that patrons are going to be seeing in Libby when they kind of make changes in here to what they're accessing. So in terms of Libby, we call what a patron's looking at a library, even though, as you guys know, you're part of a consortium. So technically that library in Libby is really a kind of a big group of libraries. So what the patrons are going to be kind of having to do, depending on, if you end up staying in e-library and J or leaving, is either removing a card and then adding a new card, or just the latter, just adding a new library card. So kind of wanted to go through the steps of that with you. It's relatively quick, and there's a few kind of minor changes that patrons would see if they do have multiple library cards inside of Libby. So I figured it might be beneficial for you guys to see that as well. So let me share my screen here. And it just so happens that I have a library card in here that I need to remove. So I'm accessing Libby from my web browser right now. I do want to kind of make a point that it is a good idea to have patrons check all of their devices and make sure that this has gone through. I tend to use a code when I'm adding a library to a different device. If you do use a setup code, libraries would be removed automatically when you remove them from one place. So chances are this is going to get removed from all of my devices, but it's never a bad idea to kind of recommend that patrons kind of look and check all of their devices to make sure that they have the correct libraries inside Libby. So from the main menu at the bottom here, if I click in the center kind of settings menu, it's listing all of these libraries that I have within Libby. So several of our corporate ones are in here, and then I have a couple of local libraries as well. So Ohio Digital is one that I had when I lived in a different township out here. I no longer live out there. So if I try to verify this card, it's actually going to come up that I don't have access anymore. So this is a nice example for how to remove a card. So from this main menu, you can see this manage cards icon here. These aren't labeled if I haven't verified it. So you'll see some of these have the icon here, so I can kind of tell what I'm looking at. This is the demo library, more corporate ones. So I know that this was my Ohio Digital card. And so I know that I can't verify this card. I don't live there anymore. So I'm going to take an action here and remove this card. It's going to prompt me to make sure that I really do want to remove that card. I'm going to say yes, remove card. When I go back here, you'll notice it's gone. Now, for your patrons, when they're going to add buckles as a digital collection inside Libby, they're still going to add a library. Like I said, it's still kind of called a library within Libby. So if I search for South Orange right now, all we're going to see obviously is eLibrary J. Now, once we add your library within Buckles, they'll also see an additional option that says BCCLS here. But if they want to, they can also search BCCLS and find that here they'll be prompted to pick their branch, which is going to be South Orange in there. You can also use a map in here. I typically will recommend that a patron searches the library name or digital collection name if they have it, rather than use the map. But that's also an option for you. So once I add, let's say the patron searches Buckles, I'm going to have this digital collection up here, even though I'm not signed in quite yet. It's going to ask me if I want to sign in with my card. Once we add South Orange, the South Orange barcodes will work in here. Patrons will have access to this digital collection. And then BCCLS would then appear as an additional library here. So the real difference is they're either going to have both eLibrary and J and Buckles listed here. They're still going to use the same exact library card with both collections, but will be kind of considered as those two things as separate libraries, so to speak. So the other thing that I kind of wanted to show as far as searching goes, if you do have multiple libraries, I'm going to quickly go back to my regular library here. So if I search in here, as a patron with multiple library cards. So let's, continue using that example of, if you do end up continuing that eLibrarianJ access, I can perform a search here. This is not the CleveNet library card color icon you see here. So this I know is CleveNet. I can go back here real quick and just make sure that you guys see that again. So these library cards are different colors for a reason. I'm browsing within CleveNet, but some of these results are showing me a different library card color, and that's because of the wait time for this particular title. So Libby, if you have multiple library cards, is going to present the best possible search action. So you can see my other local library here, CCPL, has this title at a little bit of a shorter wait time they're estimating. So it's giving me that option as a default up here. Whereas if these are available to borrow at the library that I'm browsing, that would show up there as well. So you can see like this one, for example, it's either not owned or, yeah, so it's not owned at any of those other libraries. So that's another kind of key difference that a patron may not be familiar with quite yet. I think you kind of got the idea that if I wanted to, I can do a lot of different things in here in terms of making it pretty distinct for myself. Like this one was a little bit too similar for me. So I'm just going to change that. And then that way I'll know that that's CCPL. So patrons can kind of customize this the way that they want. You notice you can rename your card as well. So if they want to, write South Orange Dash Buckles or something like that, or even if they have multiple cards in the same family, you can have those inside Libby within the same digital collection as well. So those are kind of the key changes as far as what you can expect as far as patrons go in terms of adding the library card or removing the library card. The other thing could be deep search. So if I do this random golf author, you'll see this deep searching is available in the filters of this list. If they have multiple library cards and the search is less than 100 results, they're going to have the option to perform a deep search. And if I click this, I can activate deep search and then show an additional amount of titles here. So in that case, some of these additional titles are going to show up depending on availability of other libraries, and then I'll have the option to be notified of some of these other titles there by this author. So again, you can kind of see the different library card colors here. Any questions on the kind of the adding or removing of a library card within Libby? And then if you still have patrons utilizing the OverDrive website from time to time, that still operates in the same way. They do have to sign in and sign out. So that would be it's pretty simple. If they're signed into eLibrarianJ and they wanted to access the Buckles collection, they would actually have to physically sign out of the website and then sign back in, choosing Buckles instead of eLibrarianJ. But I think if you're like most libraries, the vast majority of patrons are utilizing Libby only by this point.
Nick, I did have a question that arose
Sure.
at our last training with Dave on more of the admin stuff.
Sure.
And I wondered if you could answer. Somebody had said that they have access to the area in eLibrarianJ to change a patron's card number if they get a new card. And they were wondering if updating it in eLibrarianJ's admin side would also update it in Libby for Buckles.
No, they would have to do it twice. It's merging barcode activity or data. It's not really creating a new barcode. So if, let's say if you have a patron that, you know, their card expires and you need to issue them a new card for some reason, if they were previously using Libby and wanted to kind of transfer over that data and make sure they didn't lose their reading history, holds, you know, tags, all, things of that nature, then you can merge user IDs in Marketplace. Generally, everybody has that permission. So it should be the vast majority of people, I think, would have the end user support function in there. But they would, it's only going to apply to the data from that digital collection. So you would need to do that twice.
Twice, okay. So right now, we don't have permission for anyone to do that except Dave in Buckles. So
Okay.
it sounds like they would need to do it in eLibrary.NJ themselves, but then they'd need to submit the ticket on our end for Dave to do it for Buckles.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay, good to know. Thanks.
Any other kind of questions on differences? I wasn't sure if you guys wanted me to go through it, kind of anything that would potentially look different in Marketplace. There's not a lot outside of, you know, the one kind of example that I was going to show was something like this title with the amount of Advantage Plus sharing that happens within Buckles versus eLibrary.NJ. When you log into your new Advantage account, the bottom line is still going to be your Advantage data. You're just probably going to see a lot more of this data in this Advantage Plus field. So if you ever want to see, you know, who's purchased and shared a title, you can do that in here in Marketplace. But I think that there is a lot of sharing that goes on in eLibrary.NJ. It's just not automatic like Buckles. So probably going to see quite a bit more of this in Marketplace than you would currently. But outside of that, there's not really much of a change. Any questions on anything related to this?
Can you, I'm sorry, Nick, I do have a question. This is Jill. I think the camera's off. I'm going to just turn it on for us. So I have a question about, we actually froze during a lot of your presentation.
Oh,
and we
no.
had to log back in, but we'll watch the recording. I think we're fine. I did want to ask, just because I'm familiar with just using OverDrive or Libby from, you know, from my phone or from my device. Is there, so what we're looking at now, is this an administrative screen or is this the screen that
No, this
you
is
would,
exactly what yeah, this is my Libby app on my computer.
okay, that's what I thought. I
Yep.
just wanted to make
Mhm.
that clear to all of us
Yep.
because, all right, so we're just logging into, just for clarification, we're logging, if a patron comes in and says, you know, tell me what to do, or tell me how to add a card or delete a card or whatever, we're
Mhm.
actually logging into their account from their personal device, or
Ideally,
are
they
we doing it?
ideally they would have their phone, tablet, that type of device. Yeah.
Okay. And if they were to call us, we can walk them through it.
They can still do it on a computer as well if they
Okay.
want to do that way. Yeah.
So, because we're going to be closed for a while, and I think that that's an important thing that we can walk people through this,
Mhm.
and they don't have to be here in person. So that, so great. Thanks for clarifying that. That's what I thought. Just want
The
to make
other,
sure that that was this not stating the obvious, but
absolutely. And the other thing that I was going to do actually for you guys is stop the share and share. I was going to kind of take some screenshots and put together some handouts for you if you wanted for some of this stuff. So help.libbyapp.com is always available to any patron or your staff at any time, right? You don't need to sign into this site or anything like that. But this has really nice screenshots and step-by-step instructions in terms of removing a card or adding a library. So I can kind of summarize this on a Word doc and send it to you guys too, if that would be helpful.
yes, that would
Yeah,
be
okay.
fantastic. Yes, please. That would be great.
Do you think a lot of your patrons have other library cards right now in general, just kind of before the change?
I think a lot of our patrons, yes, I do.
They do. Okay.
Think,
So a lot of this
well,
stuff probably isn't going to be new for folks. It's really just going to be kind of understanding that they're going to have a a new digital collection from your library.
Okay. Yeah, I think just because a lot of libraries, a lot of people come in and they have access. A lot of people come in from West Orange, Maplewood, East Orange, the oranges in general, which you're not familiar with, but yes, we are used
No,
by
yeah,
a lot of
I have all
different.
those. And I think West Orange actually had multiple collections for a while. So if they've
Yeah,
had, you know, so if some of your patrons have had West Orange cards, then they've probably had multiple digital collections in Libby for a while now.
right. So we have a mix of Buckles patrons coming in, but also non-Buckles. So I think we'll get a lot. We'll continue with that. Maybe in our different. We're going to be relocating, so we'll see. I do have a question, and maybe I can talk with you offline if needed. But I typically don't do, I'm the director, I don't do the ordering of the ebooks, but I would like to be walked through very briefly, unless you want to send me some like some information on how to log in to the marketplace and
Yeah, absolutely.
what is our process. But not everyone here, no one really else in the room right now would do the ordering. The person who does do the ordering for ebooks is attending tomorrow.
Okay.
So
Yeah, we can get you set up with a marketplace account. As far as the Advantage account goes, as soon as we have
yes,
that enrollment form signed that I think I
yep,
sent
yep,
it to
I
you
have.
guys.
You
Yeah.
did.
But yeah, we have a lot of training videos on the resource center, but then what I would love to do is once the account's created is spend like an hour with you going through all kinds of like the tips and tricks as far as shopping and reporting goes, in
Okay.
terms of what you're gonna see in there. Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. And we can record that one for sure as well.
There will be a couple people. It wouldn't just be myself and Michael who oversees our collections. There would be but it'll be a much smaller group, and we can schedule that. That would be great. So I'll get you the
And then
enrollment.
I think Darlene probably has recordings of those that I've done in the past too. In the meantime, if you wanted to watch anything
Oh.
before I do it one-on-one
Oh.
with you here. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that would be great. And Darlene, if you do have those, we would love if you could send me a copy. Would love that, and I'll share it with Michael and Dita and anybody else who needs it.
Sure, absolutely. Nick has been great with the recordings and other resources, so absolutely.
Fantastic. Thank you. Okay. Do you guys have any other questions? Nobody, I'm getting no other questions on this end.
Yes, thank you.
So do you guys want to keep me posted on the plan for eLibrary and J? Because if you have any content over there on the Advantage account, we would you know, be able to move it over to your new Advantage account on Buckles as well. So just let me know as you kind of work through those decisions, and we can help along the way.
Who would help? Would that be, would we work with Margaret to transfer over any materials?
Be by myself and Bart, your product
Okay.
support specialist. Yeah, so both of our information is on the support tab in Marketplace. But
Okay.
you can always start with me and I'll loop in.
And when we start with our Advantage account, is that start the same day we go live on we're going live with Buckles on the 29th. I just want to make sure OverDrive is going to be the same as
I can,
as our
once you get that form signed and back to me, it will be real quick in terms of setting you up as an Advantage
Okay.
account. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we are trying to coincide with your go live date. So what I've done is I've blocked authentication for your users temporarily. And what I'm
Okay.
going to do is, it was a pretty fast process. I got an email back within the same day. So I think I'll do the day before. I'll email them and say, can you unblock on the 28th? Can you unblock the South Orange patrons from authenticating? And then by the 29th, they'll all be able to authenticate.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right, I'll get that form to you today. Sorry for the
Oh, no worries.
delay. I have it in my email. It's on my list of things to do. So I will get that to you, and so we'll enroll officially. All right. All All right, I don't think we have anything else on this end.
Okay. Well, thanks, guys. Looking forward to having you in the fold-in buckles.
Yes. Yes, we are very excited. So thank you.
Good to hear.
Bill,
Okay.
do you have any attendees scheduled for tomorrow morning? I just want to make sure Nick's not sitting here by himself. You do have others that needed to attend tomorrow morning at